Todd Hansen, and I'd like to welcome everyone to the Orange County Community Foundation's Social Innovation Fund Demo Day. So what I'd like you to do is grab a nice cool drink, get comfy in your chair, because you're in for a big treat today. We've got some amazing presentations you're gonna enjoy, and we've got a really great crew here putting this on. Now, I do ask for a little bit of patience because we might have some technology issues. We practice a lot, but the battery just went out in the clicker. We got it fixed, but we're looking good now. And speaking of looking good, I have my co-host here, Carrie Messina, who's going to work with me. And together, we run the Center for Gates Philanthropy at the Community Foundation. And it's there that we support creative philanthropic ideas and bring them to life. And this fund you're going to learn about today is one of those ideas that we made possible. We actually created this fund last year after several donors we work with mentioned to us that there wasn't really much funding available for innovative ideas in nonprofits, like you might see in the venture capital world. So this event today is supporting entrepreneurial and innovative ideas that address some of our community's most pressing challenges.
To qualify for this event, an organization needed to either present a new program concept that they are able to implement in the next 6 months, or bring an innovative program operating in another county or state and bring to Orange County. Over the next 60 minutes, you will hear a pitch from 6 organizations with an innovative solution to advance social well-being in Orange County and beyond. We are hopeful that you will consider supporting one or more of these projects, but of course, there's no obligation to do so. As much as anything, we hope your time together will leave you feeling inspired and hopeful for what is possible from the innovative minds working to make this world a better place for all. I'm pleased to share that OCCF has invested $5,000 match opportunity for each project, which I know we will reach easily. The event today is structured similar to a demo day, where investors hear a pitch from startup companies that need support. Each organization will have 6 minutes to present their idea, followed by 3 minutes of questions and answers. We ask you to send your questions using the Zoom chat feature located on your screen. We will have presenters answer as many questions as they can during that time period, and for those we do not get to, we will follow up with you. Also, we have created a special website that provides more information on each of these projects and provides an opportunity for you to make a contribution. There are several ways to provide support, which we will discuss later on in the program.
However, before we begin, there are 2 questions we'd like for all of you to answer. So in a moment, you're going to see on your screen a survey that's going to come up. And this first one here is all about innovation. And you're going to see 6, and you're going to have to pick the one that has made the biggest difference in your life, the one that if all the other ones went away, that you would want the most to stay. And are we live? Okay, so the survey's up, so take a moment to pick which one you can't do without. Okay, the results are coming in, and internet is in the lead. So not many of you really need your laser eye surgery. Even your mobile phones aren't that big. Wow, no one's picking social networking. You must have all seen that Netflix special that has us all think twice about that. Now we've seen people do a Ring doorbell. You know, when that came out a few years ago, burglaries in one community went down 55%. So all of these have a big impact. And actually, we probably would want all of these. Oh, I'm seeing the World Wide Web as the lead. And that kind of makes sense because we all like to get connected and we like to share information, and the web allows us to do so many things and then spend more time with each other, ideally. So that's a little bit about what's important to you. We can end the poll now. All right, so we have one more question that Carrie's gonna walk you through.
All right, so for our second survey, we're going to learn a little more about everyone who is participating today. So this time you can select as many of the answers that apply to you. All right, here we go. All right, here are some results. Looks like a lot of the attendees are interested to learn about these social innovations, which we're so happy you're here with us today and you're really going to enjoy these projects. Majority are philanthropists that support nonprofits. You are in the right place. So happy you can join us. And looks like we're at good 27% started or was involved with a company that received support from investors, which is wonderful because you indeed know what it's like to receive support and understand the importance of having someone believe in your idea. And it looks like we're at 16% of I love virtual events and sign up for as many.
Bless you.
This is the year for virtual events, huh? Hopefully next year we'll be more in person and be ready to socialize and ready to go. Thank you so much for participating, and we can go ahead and close the survey.
All right. I hope you enjoyed those questions and it made you think a little bit. Before we get started now with the presentations you've all come here to hear, I need to do a quick thank you for the amazing committee we had that helped make this possible. Because like all projects, it takes many hands. And we had a great committee that went through 70 proposals. We had 70 requests for this fund and all very good. So we had to get through and pick out what were the top 6 that we really wanted to move forward and see them happen in this county. And I'm going to walk through and tell you a little bit about each of the committee members that did all that work and helped make this event possible. And starting with Keith Swain. All right, so Keith, along with his wife Judy, co-founded Keith and Judy Swain Foundation. And in 1997, he was a regional winner of the Entrepreneur of the Year Award. He's also been recognized by the California Association of Human Rights Organizations for his work in the human rights field. And he was named Philanthropist of the Year at National Philanthropy Day just last year. He's also on the board of the Community Foundation. Reshma Block is the principal and founder of Compass Consulting, recently featured in Orange Coast Magazine's top 35 kick-ass women of OC. She has more than 25 years of experience in the information technology industry, and she is the chair of the board of the Orange County Community Foundation. JJ Richa is an accomplished serial entrepreneur. He's an executive and investor. He successfully founded many different companies, private equity investor, and a longtime member of Tech Coast Angels, where he serves as its vice president and a member of its executive committee.
Ryan O'Grady is the CEO of Rowe Asset Management and serves as co-president of the Charitable Oak Foundation with his wife, Jen. Michael Cups is co-founder and trustee of the Golden Eagle Foundation and a member of OCCF's Family Foundation Alliance, where he serves on the steering committee. Steve Mudsey is a managing director at MF Partners, an investment fund focused primarily on real estate and late-stage private equity investments. He serves as the executive director of the Roberto Foundation and chair of OCCF's Family Foundation Alliance. Howard Mirowitz is a member of the investment committee of OC Cove Fund, the selection committee of Evo Nexus, and Tech Coast Angels. In this consulting practice, he advises private equity firms investing in high-tech businesses.
And then we also have Matt Bailey, a lifelong entrepreneur, musician, visual artist, and he's passionate about helping those in need. He's an Orange County native, an active investor and educator, and he's currently teaching at the Paul Mirage School of Business at UCI. And then last but not least, we have Zoot Velasco, who is the director of the GNSU Center for Nonprofit Research at Cal State University Fullerton. He hosts there the GNSU Fellowship in Social Impact Leadership. He's also a professor of business and marketing at Mahalo College. He is the past CEO of the Muckenthaler Cultural Center, and he was the pitch coach for all the nonprofits presenting today. So please give a warm welcome to Zoot, who's going to introduce each of the 6 projects and then follow up with some of the Q&A afterwards.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you, Carrie. I'm pleased to introduce you all to Jeff and Kathy Long, who have developed a new approach
to help teens and young adults who suffer with mental illness. It is the type of program that when you hear about it, you're going to wonder, why does this not already exist? Their innovative solution is to empower teens to choose recovery through an online platform where teens mentor their peers, other teens, as they tell their own mental health recovery stories. This program was developed from personal experience, and here to tell their story is Jeff and Kathy.
Thank you, Zoot, for that wonderful introduction. There is a mental health crisis going on in our country right now, and it's growing. 1 in 5 teens will suffer from a mental health illness, and over 64% will get no help. That's 6.3 million teens in the United States and over 65,000 here in Orange County. Like Uber and Airbnb, who created their online businesses, we have a new approach, and we think it'll revolutionize teen mental health and help millions of teens who suffer from depression, anxiety, addiction, and other mental health illnesses. So this is how we came to create Teens for Teens Help. I can tell you that adrenaline and panic are a very powerful combination. I remember thinking this can't be happening as I drove my daughter to the ER while holding together her bleeding arm.
And I remember the cold gray steel of the psych ward and the antiseptic smell. I remember the yelling at home and the group sessions at the treatment centers with the blank faces of the children and the terrified parents.
These are not our best family memories.
For us, it started when our daughter started high school and she was having some issues, so we took her into therapy. And really, that's when the wheels fell off. She was diagnosed with anorexia, depression, and self-harm. 5 years, 3 residentials, and 4 treatment centers later, we tried every kind of treatment and therapy we could think of and afford.
From neurofeedback to therapists to psychiatrists to psychics and goat yoga. I don't recommend yoga with goats. They don't respect your mat or your personal space at all. Anyway, we were the lucky ones. Our daughter chose recovery and is starting her 2nd year at UC Davis. We wrote a book, A Parent's Guide to Anorexia, because we wanted to help others. And throughout our journey, we constantly asked the question, what were the main puzzle pieces our daughter found to put herself back together?
We got that answer near the end of her treatment. She was asked back to speak at a high school for the 2nd year. And after she spoke, a young man came up to her and asked if he could have a hug. And she said, sure, but why? And he said, well, last year when you were here, I was actually trying to figure out how I was going to kill myself. And I heard your story and I got help instead. And it was like, wow, she saved a life.
And that was our aha moment. These stories are so powerful, they're lifesavers. And we knew that very few schools got to hear from kids in recovery. We researched online and discovered there wasn't a site where teens could hear stories of recovery and learn that they're not alone, that there is hope, help, and resources. There are other sites that have information. They're presented by adults, and most of it is written. What we are creating is one site that has the stories of the recovery, the information, the coping skills, and resources and help, all on video, all presented by teens in a format and style that they can relate to. We know that teens don't listen to adults and authority figures. That's part of their process. However, teens will listen to other teens, and that is the game changer.
So with our daughter's interest and input, with university research and professional advisors, we created the website that we would like to show you a mock-up of now.
So if you look across the top, you'll see the mental health categories. There'll be these and more. There's a welcome video from my daughter who explains the site. And on every page, there's a hotline and the help and resources button. So suppose you wanted to look into anxiety. You would click on that, the anxiety page would come up, and you'd choose somebody's story. And they would tell you what it felt like, what they went through, how they chose recovery, and they'd encourage you to do the same. And at the end of their video, they'd say, hey, check out these cool videos. These are animated informational videos on the signs and symptoms, the types of anxiety, the treatment options, coping skills, and where we want them to go to help and resources. So let's roll a quick clip from my daughter's story.
If I was able to hear someone speak when I was 14, to know that what I'm going through isn't completely abnormal, to know that I'm not alone, to know that I have like options for help, it would have changed my life so much.
expect to reach 10,000 teens and young adults in Orange County in the first 6 months, and more statewide and nationally, and we hope to triple that within 2 years. We are creating educational programs for schools. We are teaming up with organizations like NAMI and treatment centers and departments of mental health. By helping us, you're helping teens, families, and your community. You are educating and reducing stigma and reducing the negative impact when teens use drugs and alcohol as coping tools.
We're looking for $100,000. However, with $50,000, we can get the website up and running with 3 to 4 mental health categories, start beta testing with schools here in Orange County, and then we can grow the content and the reach. We hope that you'll join us and help us save lives and improve Orange County.
As our daughter says, it's never too soon to recover, and it's never too late to start.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was really an amazing presentation. I'm here for questions right now, so if you have any questions, feel free to type them into the chat feature in Zoom, which is if you hover near the bottom of your screen, most of you will see it there. While we're waiting for questions, you mentioned beta testing at local schools. Do you have plans for a specific school to do a beta test at?
We've been talking both to University of Irvine, and we've been talking to the San Juan Capistrano School District, and we also have other contacts in Tustin that we're reaching out to.
Great. And you know, it's such an amazing idea we've known this with AA and NA groups, that how much peer interaction helps people. For you to think about it for suicide prevention is a great thing, and to use teens' voices is a great idea. It's like we said at the beginning, we don't know how this hasn't been invented yet, but thanks for doing it.
Well, thank you.
I don't see any other questions right now. Oh, here's one. I assume you are also thinking about social media, which seems like how to generate generational communications like TikTok and Snapchat. You want to speak at all to that?
Sure, we have a whole array of media in our marketing plan. Once the videos are up and running, social media is definitely going to be a big component to getting the word out.
And we also have a teen advisory board, and so they'll be helping us develop it as well as style and format and the social media that they want to use.
Well, that's a really great element. What outcomes are you hoping for?
Well, we're hoping to get a lot more success stories and a lot more involvement in the mental health clubs and schools, and create really programs and make mental health something that's more accessible and people relate to it and there's less stigma.
I don't see, oh wait, here's another one. How do you get permission from the parents for your beta tests? Sometimes teens don't want to tell their parents.
Well, I don't think the teens would be telling. It's about having the website available and having them look at the site. Usually happens in a mental health club, a psychology class, a health class, where they can, look at it and respond and get information.
Do you need to get approval from their parents because they're under 18?
That will come through the school district. The people that we're using who are telling the stories, they're usually over 18. We're working with Venerable law firm. We have a waiver that's signed.
But we're trying to get most of our stories 18 and up.
How do you plan on financially sustaining the site beyond this competition and the funding you'll get through this?
We are creating educational materials for schools to help them in their health class and make mental health education part of health class. So we're offering programs to schools. We are offering sponsorship for the videos, advertising on the website and banner ads.
And some hopefully marketing with the kids, create some cool gear.
Well, when you go back, make sure you read the chat, because there's a very nice thank you from some people in the audience. Do we have time for another question? Yeah, okay. So there's other questions here which you might be able to answer later on while other people are presenting. But one more. If you're planning to partner with the service with other providers, for instance, if a teen needs help, where do they go from your website?
Right. We definitely want to have some links to every place so they can go in Orange County. We eventually, further down the road, want to create an app so that wherever you are, you can find resources near you.
Well, thank you. I think everything else is kind of thank yous and congratulations, but please read the chat, and if there's more questions, they can actually type on their own devices and get your questions answered. So we'll make sure that that happens. All right. Our next presenter is Carrie Buck. She is the executive director of His House, which supports people to overcome homelessness and achieve independence. With her experience in housing, Carrie has created Home Share, an innovative program that will empower older adults wishing to remain in their homes by pairing them with a college student who can provide both companionship as well as light housework in exchange for affordable rent, something college students definitely need. So here to tell us more is Carrie Buck.
Thank you. Like Zoot said, my name is Carrie Buck, and I'm the executive director of His House. Originally established in 1989, His House has grown to provide a continuum of care to meet the unique needs of homeless men, women, and children. Tonight, we are proposing Home Share OC, an intergenerational home sharing program, the first of its kind in Orange County, that brings senior homeowners and college students into shared living arrangements that will enhance their financial and social well-being. Our program is very innovative because it empowers older adults wishing to remain in their homes with additional income, help around the house, and companionship. But it also addresses the lack of affordable housing in Orange County, particularly for our college students. I know personally how intergenerational home sharing can both benefit the younger and older generations, and why we need a program like this in Orange County. This is my grandmother that you see. My mom was diagnosed with breast cancer and died unexpectedly when I was in high school. And losing my mom at 15 was really hard for me. And I missed the opportunity to get the advice and guidance that help you grow and make important life decisions as you become an adult. So as a result, when I was 20, I was in a relationship that wasn't very good, and it wasn't safe, and I was embarrassed to call my dad. So one evening, I loaded up my car with everything that I had, and I drove to my grandmother's house. So she was a little surprised to see me. She lived alone, and she was lonely, and I was lonely too. I was afraid, and I felt completely down on myself. And she was getting ready to have surgery. So I was there to come in and help make dinner and take out the trash, do the things that she couldn't do at that time. And I only lived with her for about a year, but that made the difference in my life and in hers. My grandma was fun to talk to, and we played hours of gin rummy, and I taught her how to set her VCR to record her favorite show, which she absolutely loved. It changed her life. And I know you all know what a VCR is, but I have to tell college students what VCRs do these days. But while I was there, I got a job, and I was able to financially contribute a little bit to the house and buy groceries. But the social emotional benefits were so much better than the financial benefits. It was really the gift of shared housing. Home Share OC is a home sharing program with the same gift that my grandma and I received. It matches older adults with college students looking for a room to rent and creates innovative options for an affordable housing and social connectedness. Home Share OC is an inexpensive solution with a positive social outcome for both senior and college student, and it can have immediate results. The availability of housing in Orange County has become a critical issue for our older population and our college students. And it's not getting any better. It's even recently gotten worse with COVID and dorms reducing their capacity. In 2018, 1 in 5 college students, California community college students, were experiencing homelessness, and 2/3 of them were unable to eat properly. And we know that when students are facing homelessness or insecurity of food, that they don't do well in school. Their overall health and well-being is negatively affected. In addition, more than 22% of Orange County seniors live alone, and many are financially struggling to age in place. And did you know that being lonely can have as much effect on the health of an older person as smoking 15 cigarettes a day, or even more harmful than lack of exercise? Social connections are vital to both the good health in adults and in young adults. Home Share OC will match 12 older adults 55 and up with a spare room in their homes with college students seeking affordable housing. In exchange for reduced rent, the student will provide up to 5 hours of companionship and assistance with completing light household tasks. Home Share OC will reduce housing and food insecurities. It will increase a sense of belonging and purpose, will decrease isolation, depression, and loneliness. It will improve understanding and independence and promote overall health and well-being for both seniors and our young adults, our college students. But home sharing program is more than just home sharing. It's the gift that that older adult and that college student receive. Seniors get the gift of social connections, which improve their quality of life, someone that can help them with household chores or figuring out their cell phones and computers. Students get the gift of having a mentor, someone that can teach them the value of communication and interpersonal communication and networking. Sometimes that's a little harder these days. Home Share OC will be entirely facilitated by a staff who will use comprehensive matching tools, prioritize the participant safety and security. They'll use the implementation of in-depth screenings and safety checks on all of the households. We'll have regular follow-ups for all the participants and provide mediation and conflict resolution for them. And we'll also provide conflict and, cultural and sensitivity training. The recent COVID-19 pandemic has significantly impacted both our seniors and our college students. We met with many stakeholders regarding the project before and since COVID-19 who expressed great interest and excitement with this project. Although there's a little bit of hesitation now, many homeowners are still interested in participating and ready to open their doors. And we will host workshops so that we will share best practices for safe and happy home sharing. His house is requesting $85,000 for the Home Share OC program. Expenses include a full-time program manager that will recruit, train, and support our program. And the additional costs are for background checks, screening tools, moving and incentives for all of those program participants. And his house is added in a 10% match. In July, we hired a Home Share OC program manager who just completed her master's degree in gerontology and her thesis on intergenerational home sharing. She has been diligently networking and building relationships with seniors and our local colleges, finalizing our materials, and we're ready to start matching. This idea, This idea is a simple idea that can address the critical issue of affordable housing for the older and younger generations. Home Share is a shared housing program that matches seniors who have a room to rent with a college student that is in need of housing. But it's more than just housing. It's truly the gift of companionship, and it improves the quality of life for both participants. Thank you.
Carrie, that was amazing. I remember being amazed by it when I first read it as a professor at Cal State Fullerton. I have 200 students a semester. Every semester I have 2 to 3 students who come up to me privately and need information about shelters because I run a nonprofit center there. They talk to me, and you know, it just amazes me how many students are couch surfing and in need of this program. But also seniors are in need of it. And the first question we had is, will you be coordinating this with local colleges in Orange County? And if so, how? And I would like to add to that, how are you also going to get the seniors as well?
Well, we've already been reaching out. We've spoken to Fullerton College and Cal State Fullerton, who are right down the street from us. And Cal State Fullerton has an OLLI program, which is an older generation program. And we're bringing them in to help us with panels and things like that. So we're reaching out in that capacity, but we're also talking to our senior centers and Meals on Wheels and all of those places that touch seniors where they can't get out right now, but we can have capacity to get in. Same with students. We have to reach out in a different way because they're kind of isolated right now.
I would imagine most of the students you're going to reach out through the state colleges and through the junior colleges.
Correct.
Yes?
Correct. And we're right down the street from Fullerton College and Cal State Fullerton. So
Right.
It's a great place to start, but this can happen anywhere in Orange County.
A lot of people saying fantastic idea. One of the questions is, are you planning to match companions across cultures and ethnicity as well?
Yes, that will all be part of the questionnaires and the sensitivity training. So we want to make sure that they understand where each other are coming from and agree on what they're going to be doing for each other in the house. So that will all be part of it.
I can tell you, as much as I've had to learn about my students' cultures, they've had to learn about, you know,
That's right.
our generation, because there's a big disconnect sometimes between
right.
generations. So there's that training as well,
It will
right?
build understanding for sure.
Are there similar programs elsewhere in the world or the U.S.? I think you said you got this from a model program.
I saw this model from a story that I saw in Australia a couple of years ago. And then as this idea came up, the social innovation grant, I thought, this is the time we can do it. And so I started researching and doing a little more to start to build all of our programs. And there is one in Santa Barbara that we've talked to, and there's one in San Diego. So we've been already networking with them, getting some of the foundational stuff ready that they've already used. So using their best practices to bring it in.
Well, I think you'll hear through these 6 pitches you're going to hear today, amazing programs that all are things that you say to yourself, why does this not exist already? And you who are listening today have the power to make all of them exist. So with that, I think just more congratulations. Of course, you're going to be working with OC Aging Services.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Carrie,
Thank you,
and
everyone.
appreciate your presentation.
Thank you.
And that brings us to our next organization, News Literacy. It's tackling one of the biggest problems in recent years and the one that impacts us on a daily basis. How do you know what to trust, believe, or act upon when you get something across your screen? Have you ever shared something on social media only to find out later it was a total hoax? This happens to all of us. Are you overwhelmed with the onslaught of information that you consume every day? This is where News Literacy Project comes in. Their resources teach young people how to be smart, active consumers of information. Their work could not be more relevant or more important in today's climate. And here with us is Nikki Lassig, the Director of Development, and Liz Ramos, board member and high school teacher right here in Orange County. So with that, take it away, Nikki.
Okay, thank you, Zoot. As you've heard, I'm Nikki Lessig, and I'm joined today by Liz Ramos. Liz is a history teacher, and she's California's 2019 Social Studies Teacher of the Year, and she teaches at Alta Loma High School. She's also one of our distinguished board members. Liz, take it away.
Let's play a game. You'll be familiar with it. You do it every day when you read the news or scroll through social media. Here we go. It's 2017 and Hurricane Harvey is hitting Houston. You check your social media to find out what's going on, and you see an alarming image of a shark swimming down a Houston freeway. What is your response? Do you share it? If you did, you've been duped. The photo is actually 2 images photoshopped together, but it looks real, and from the number of likes and retweets, you can see that others thought so too. Nearly 80,000 retweets. This example is taken straight from a News Literacy Project lesson on misinformation, which talks about the different types of content we encounter. In this case, the image of the shark is manipulated content. Every time a hurricane hits, the shark seems to reappear. It was even back last month swimming down the highways when Hurricane Laura hit. Natural disasters create a kind of perfect storm for viral rumors like this. In this lesson, my students would hear directly from journalists who act as news literacy content experts to teach them concepts, like the difference between satire, fabricated content, and information shared out of context. And they would learn about the different consequences, intentional or not, of sharing each type of misinformation. As a history teacher, news literacy lessons are an essential to engaging my students in thinking. Students like Virginia, who recently told me a story about a discussion she had with her dad about Black Lives Matter. He was angry and repeated something he had read on Facebook about police brutality statistics. That didn't sound right to her. She asked herself, what would Ramos tell me to do? And she proceeded to go to Pew Research Center to look up the facts and then verify them through multiple credible sources before re-engaging with her dad in conversation. I've seen firsthand how the sheer volume of information coming through our devices affects my students. They're having a hard time figuring out what to believe. And that's why I've used the News Literacy Project's resources with my students for the past 6 years. When I teach government, my goal is for students to understand our democracy so that they are empowered to be informed and engaged citizens in our community. I'm honored to be part of an organization addressing an important need both in the classroom and beyond. As I always tell them, check your facts and get into good trouble. Over to you, Nikki.
Thanks, Liz. So as you've heard, misinformation is often designed to trigger an emotional response. And the stronger that response, the less likely we are to critically evaluate what to trust, share, and act on. For teenagers, the parts of the brain that deal with rational thought and executive functions are the last to develop, usually by their mid-20s. But misinformation isn't new. What is new is the rapid advancement of technology. It's never been easier to create and share content. It's misleading, meant to cause harm, and divide us. Which brings us to 2020. This year has been unlike any other, with the global pandemic, massive protests, and a presidential election. Now with wildfires raging across the West Coast, firefighters are also having to fight false information. It's no exaggeration to say today, being able to separate fact from fiction is truly a matter of life or death. The fact is, young people are inheriting the most complicated information landscape in human history, and we have an obligation to teach them how to navigate it all, which is our mission at the News Literacy Project. Teachers like Liz use our Checkology virtual classroom with their students as a supplement to their regular curriculum. Checkology is a digital platform, so it's ideal for distance learning. And students learn how to distinguish verified, unbiased information from other types like advertising and opinion. They learn about the importance of the First Amendment and the critical role of watchdog journalism and a free press, cornerstones of American democracy. And Checkology is proven to work. After completing lessons, more than 4 out of 5 students say they're likely to increase their civic participation. The news literacy skills students learn apply to all areas of their lives. So you might be asking, why now and why here in Orange County? We launched Checkology in 2016 after 8 years of providing in-person classroom programs. This allowed us to scale. We set a goal to reach 10% of middle and high school students across the country by 2022. This year, we took stock of our progress and we realized we just weren't expanding quickly enough to reach that goal. So we went back to the drawing board. We removed our Checkology paywall, created a team to help schools adopt our resources, and, important, we identified news literacy hub regions. Orange County is critical to our expansion because it's a microcosm of the rest of the country. This is what makes Orange County the perfect place to test our model and to show that we can scale rapidly. 6 weeks into the school year, we're already seeing the impact of the changes we made. Our resources are being used by 600 educators, nearly 500% growth since this time last year. But we need your help. $50,000 will seed our efforts to bring our resources to Orange County as a pilot hub for news literacy education. Right now, we're just getting started. We're in 6 Orange County schools, but there are 267 public middle and high schools in the county. Your investment will support our outreach team to work with teachers to implement Checkology in their classrooms. Funding will go towards marketing, partnership development with superintendents, and tech support to ensure Orange County educators can sign on, navigate our resources, and integrate them into their classrooms. With over 250,000 middle and high school students in Orange County, success right here will be a proof point for expansion into the rest of California and the rest of the country. Your $50,000 investment will give students the tools to sort fact from fiction and to be active, engaged members of your community and our collective democracy. So please join us in creating a future founded on facts. Thank you.
Okay, I'm having a little trouble getting my video starting. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me all right? All right, there we go.
I can hear you.
Okay, great. Sorry about that little snafu there. It's good to have you guys. What a great presentation. I just want to remind our audience that you can put your questions in the chat. We'd ask you not to use the question and answer feature, but use the chat. That way everybody can see your question and people can log on after we're done and answer more questions. So that would be great. While we're waiting for some questions, and I think some are coming, I just wanted to find out a little bit more about, you're a national organization doing amazing things, very important news literacy. Tell us a little bit more about this beta test that you're going to do here in Orange County.
So, like I said, we this year took stock of where we were in this really ambitious goal to reach 10% of middle and high school students across the country. And we realized that we weren't expanding quickly enough. We decided to address that in a few ways. We removed our Checkology paywall, and we also created news literacy hub regions. And Orange County is one of those regions. We're hoping that we can use Orange County as a beta test to really see news literacy embedded in public education in the county and use that as a proof point to scale across California and then across the country.
Do you have a particular school in mind?
We're working at the district level. We're currently in 6 schools, and Liz can speak to how she uses our resources as one of our educators who's actually been using our resources since 2000.
Oh, no, that's great that you're at the district level. Somebody is asking how you will evaluate your outcomes.
So we do pre and post testing, both with our individual students that are administered by our educators, and then we do qualitative testing with our educators as well. So we get feedback from them at the end of every school year.
Someone's made the comment that it's the type of technology should be mandatory in all classrooms in middle school. Are the school boards very supportive?
Absolutely. We have a lot of interest from school boards, especially now that we've made all of our resources at no cost to educators. So we've really removed all barriers. And because we have been, since 2016, creating digital resources, we've really played a critical role as educators have moved to virtual classrooms this year.
Well, last question, we have to move on, but many people, including myself, are asking, where can we adults get this? Because it's needed.
Right here, actually. Right here at the News Literacy Project. So one of the things we did when we removed our Checkology paywall is we also launched resources for adults, for the general public. And that is something that we will also hope to offer Orange County. We offer news literacy professional development, but one of the biggest offerings is our online program Checkology that anyone, educator, student, and adult can go online and use. And I really want to take this moment to offer anyone on this call a one-on-one demo. I would love to show you Checkology. You can contact me directly and we can put your own news literacy skills to the test.
And then if I could just add, I noticed somebody in the chat said, how do you pass these on? Can the students pass this learning on to others? I have seen my students talk with others, like the story I shared about Virginia sharing and fact checking with her dad and having that on. And I was so proud this morning to have a tweet from a former student that she wanted to let me know I'm a former, that she's a former student, and that I watched the debate tonight with my brother and dad, and we taught my brother things that went on and learning about how to fact check and put things into context and source so that they can become educated and know fact from fiction and be media literate. So this
that's awesome.
That can be passed on.
We have to move on, but you've sparked an entire conversation in the chat. So I'm sure that either you, Liz, or either one of you will be able to go in the chat and answer the questions that are still there. That's why we want you to use the chat feature. And then we're going to move on to our next presenter. Thank you so much for everything you've done.
Thank you for the opportunity, Zoot.
Introduce you to Chef Eve Muscafa. Sorry, I wasn't going to butcher the name. Chef Eve Muscafa. Chef Eve has been in the restaurant business for 48 years, the last 30 of which he and his wife Jody owned a restaurant in Anaheim Hills, and I'm sure many of you have been to his restaurant and maybe know him personally. After years of mission work serving young, marginalized women, Eve and Jody learned that the problems abroad were just as prevalent right here in their own backyard. We have a lot of the same problems here in Orange County, and with that, they started Karoot 3 years ago. Karoot empowers survivors of sex trafficking, marginalized women, and female youth aging out of the foster care system by providing education, training, and long-term employment in a safe and supportive environment. This is the long-term solution offered by a diverse and scalable, cutting-edge food service platform. Starting right here in Orange County, these women have the opportunity to develop careers in everything from purchasing to production to marketing to management. To tell you more, here is Chef Eve. Thank you, Chef.
Thank you, Zoot. 14 years ago, my wife Jody and I, along with our 2 young daughters, went to Ukraine on our very first mission trip. We worked at a orphanage in the Crimea. And shortly after that, we went on another mission trip and another. And we ended up in Kenya, right outside of Nairobi. We opened up a culinary program at a girls' school. And we found out something pretty shocking along the way, that somebody had told us that 7 out of 10 of the girls that we were working with would end up in sex work. And that was shocking, that these amazing young women that we got to know so well would end up in such horrific circumstances. We really wanted to do something more, but we weren't really sure what we should be doing. And on our way back to from one of our trips, we were approached by an organization that wanted us to recreate what we had done in Nairobi, but this time in India, and we were very excited about that. And we were sharing all of our plans and ideas with a good friend of ours, and she looked at me and she said, "Why don't you do something in Orange County?" And honestly, I didn't know we had a problem in Orange County, but it happens here too. California, unfortunately, is the #1 state, and Orange County is the hub. Over 86% of the girls are US citizens, so it's an American problem. It's not all foreigners. The girls are taken between 11 to 14 years old. And one of the really sad things is, you would think with COVID things would slow down, but it's actually become even bigger. I was talking to a good friend of mine, Sergeant Walt Revelis from the City of Anaheim Human Trafficking Task Force, and he was on a stakeout. And he was noticing that all the Johns were walking in and out with masks on. Nothing seems to stop these guys. And so we decided to jump in. We started finding out that we could partner with organizations that had the expertise to help us through figuring out what it is exactly we needed to do. And so at first, we decided to hire people. So they referred people to us for our restaurant that we had for 48 years, or the restaurant for 30 years. And we found out, unfortunately, really, really quickly that skills wasn't the big thing for long-term success. The skills they learned amazingly fast. They were very, very competent. But it was all the much more important things in their lives that was making them fail. The critical daily needs like transportation, housing, childcare, and even getting other jobs when they have felonies. How does that happen? So it's much more than a job. And that's when the Karoot vision was born. Innovative solution, self-sustaining, geographically scalable, commissary kitchen and office space supporting a food business platform that includes meal kits, catering, cooking classes, special events, and also with up to 10 food trucks and being able to hire up to 100 women per location. And by the way, the food trucks are about as unique as they get. There's nothing like it on the road right now. And the reason they were designed that way is to be able to get people with no cooking skills to be able to be trained in a week or 2 to be able to run one of these. And the best part, obviously, for us is that working with these other nonprofit organizations, when the girls come directly from them to work for us in a safe, secure environment, it's not just about cooking. That's not really the most important thing in running a business, like you all know, I'm sure. there's social media, there's marketing, sales, production, customer service, logistics, and there's so many other things. It's a career. Let me introduce you to Natalie. So Natalie came from an abusive household. The doors were open for her for addiction in alcohol and drugs. She had 10 years of coming in and out of prison, 5 children, 3 different men, and even losing one of her children to adoption. She was stuck in a cycle of self-destruction, no hope, no way out. Fortunately, she met the people from Casa Teresa that helped her get through all the addiction problems and help her move through life. When we hired her about a year ago, she started learning kitchen, office space work. She did everything she possibly could. And she's been one of the most important employees in our organization thus far. She's looking for that day that she can actually be a leader on the crew team. And after 4 years of being sober, she lives on her own. She has part-time custody of 2 of her children and full-time custody of her youngest son. She's a true example of giving somebody a second, third, or even a 4th chance, how that actually makes a huge difference. And then there's Rachel and Tanya and Ashley, and they all have their own unique stories, and Karut will be there to help them move through life with confidence. So where are we now? Unfortunately, when COVID hit, we lost our restaurant after 30 years. We thought that this was going to be extremely devastating, but things have turned out pretty well for us. We ended up getting a temporary kitchen space at Highway 39. We are now their in-house caterer. We do all their events. We've successfully launched our catering business and meal kit program. Our food truck is ready to roll. We have a signed lease that in the city of Orange. We have the permit process all going forward with the city of Orange and the Orange County Health Department, and we will be hiring 15 to 20 women by the end of 2020. So we're asking for $80,000 to build out their commissary kitchen and office space. We will be hiring up to 50 women by the end of 2021 and 100 women by the end of 2022. And the most important thing, it's not just the women, because if these women succeed, the children succeed. And someday, the Natalies of this world will run and manage Karut throughout the US. Today's survivors, tomorrow's hope. Be part of the legacy. Thank you.
Chef, that was an amazing presentation. Thank you for that. We have some questions coming in. You said there was going to be 100 food trucks is what you're aiming for. That's your
10.
goal. 10.
Yes,
10.
Yeah.
I thought I heard 100.
No.
And right now you're doing a catering operation and you have 1 food truck operation?
We have 1 food truck ready to operate, waiting for a final permit, ready to go.
I'd love to give you a minute to just brag a little bit about what you've been able to do in these 3 years and through COVID in terms of the catering and the food truck that you have going now.
Well, we were able to start a business that's actually working pretty well. And you know, we're so incredibly fortunate with 2 things. First of all, the lease that we got is extremely inexpensive. We're paying under $1 a square foot, so that's something special. And with the partnership with Highway 39, they're not charging us anything. So our profitability is pretty high. Actually, we can't say profitability because it is a nonprofit, but we're able to pay for all of our staff and onboarding everybody that comes in. So we become very, very sustainable very quickly.
So you have a really good head start then.
Well, we're lucky that we did have a very large customer base with Eve's Restaurant and Wine Bar. So we're able to launch pretty simply.
So people were asking about how you're going to scale this up to neighboring communities.
Yes.
You have a plan to scale up to 10 food trucks, which will probably go all over Orange County?
Well, we want to keep everything pretty regional. When we start out and getting new warehouses for our new commissary kitchens, we've already had some interest in San Diego County, Arizona. We've had people just wanting us to get going on this so we can actually move it to different areas. But we could do probably up to 10 at least of these commissary kitchens in Orange County alone.
Yeah, I'm sure once you have proof of concept, people could take this anywhere that there's a problem.
Right, because everybody eats.
Absolutely. Can you explain the meaning behind the word Karut?
Yeah, Karut means freedom from slavery and oppression. Oh, that's it.
That's it. I have no other questions, but if you have more questions, put them in the chat.
I do have one little thing.
Sure.
Just in case. If anybody's interested in going much deeper in exactly how we do it and why we do it, and the technology behind our food truck, again, which is very unique and one of a kind, I'd be more than happy to come over to your home and cook you a meal and talk to you while I'm feeding you.
Oh, that's a good offer.
And bring one of my team members as well.
Chef Eve, I'll be the first in line. Thank you so much, Chef, for providing this information. And you'll be on the chat and can answer more questions as they come up. And I'm sure you have a website you can put up there as well.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Chef Eve, everyone.
Appreciate it.
All right. Next, we have Paul K. Chappelle, the director of the Peace Literacy Institute. He's a West Point graduate, an Iraq War captain and veteran, and former Army captain. I got ahead of myself. He's the author of the 7-book Road to Peace series. He leads a team of educators who design and teach peace literacy for use in preschool through K through 12, as well as adult and higher education. Peace literacy is a growing movement of educators and concerned citizens who want to empower people with the training, skills, and understanding needed to heal the root cause of our problems rather than merely address surface symptoms. And I'm proud to say that Paul is a friend, and I've worked with him through Rotary and through my Gianeschi Center, and I'm really happy to present him here today, Captain Paul K. Chappelle. Oh, here, you might need that. Thank you.
Thank you. Today, I'd like to talk about peace literacy for educators and students in Orange County. And I'd like to begin by asking 3 questions. Number 1, what if people were as well trained in waging peace as soldiers are in waging war? Number 2, we live in a society where people so often confront symptoms of problems, but what if we train people how to confront root causes of problems? Number 3, what if we taught peace as a skill set, as a life-saving literacy, with as much rigor as we teach literacy in math and reading and writing, from preschool through higher education? Peace literacy is designed to answer these 3 questions. To explain what peace literacy is, I'd like to share my personal journey from war to peace and from rage to realistic hope. Some of you have already heard me tell my story about how I come from an unusual background to be working for peace. I graduated from West Point in 2002. I served in the Army for 7 years. I was deployed to Iraq and left the Army as a captain. The picture on the left is from my West Point graduation, and the picture on the right is from when I was a captain in the Army. But what initially got me interested in peace and led me to create peace literacy was growing up in a violent household. My father fought in the Korean and Vietnam Wars. He had a lot of war trauma, which he brought home with him. This is a picture from my father during the Korean War era. And growing up in a violent household, I developed a lot of behavioral problems as a child. I was kicked out of elementary school for fighting. I was almost kicked out of middle school. I was suspended in high school for fighting. I also grew up with very strong feelings of alienation, especially racial alienation, because my mother's Korean, my father's Black, and I grew up in Alabama. Here's a picture from when I was a year old. And all of that trauma and all of the rage, alienation, and mistrust that resulted from that trauma caused me to develop a mass shooter personality in high school. And every day I would fantasize about shooting the kids in my classes. This is a photo from my freshman high school yearbook. And as you can see in this photo, I'm not doing well. And in this photo, you can see my trauma, you can see my rage, my alienation, and my mistrust. I am not alone. Countless people walk the terrain of trauma, rage, alienation, and mistrust. We can see the effects all around us, in our communities, the nation, and the globe. Every day on the news, you can see this happening. What led me to create peace literacy was the realization that there is very little in our current education system designed to help people address their trauma, rage, alienation, and mistrust. At the Peace Literacy Institute, I've gathered together a dedicated team of educators to bridge these gaps by providing teacher training in peace literacy. Our peace literacy workshops combine West Point's world-class leadership training with the disciplined vision of the civil rights leaders with whom I studied after I left the military. So West Point's world-class leadership training, so much of what I learned in the Army and at West Point, I use for waging peace. The strategic thinking, the discipline, the leadership skills, and at the Peace Literacy Institute, we think that this should be available to all people. I also studied closely with several of Martin Luther King Jr.'s colleagues, several civil rights leaders, including C.T. Vivian, who recently passed away, Bernard Lafayette, and also James Lawson. We have put together a team of VR designers to transform our curriculum to meet the demand for remote learning opportunities. We have a team of 4 VR software developers. We do all of our workshops in remote learning now using virtual reality worlds and full body tracked avatars. And if you email me, I would love to give you a tour of our virtual reality worlds that we teach from. Our team has trained educators all across the US and Canada, as well as Uganda, Nigeria, and Japan. Here's a typical comment from the hundreds of teachers we've trained that speaks to our current moment. In a nation that is full of division and polarization, learning how to implement the peace literacy skills of listening and speaking with respect and empathy is invaluable. We have also begun formal data collection from students to measure the effects of the peace literacy lessons they've learned from teachers we've trained. So this graph shows, after 6.5 hours, a group of students, every area of peace literacy, their competency increased in the pre and post assessment. Here's our plan for peace literacy in Orange County. We are currently consulting with the Orange County Department of Education. We're working with them. They oversee 27 school districts in Orange County and nearly 500,000 students. We're currently working with Jeff Hittenberger, who is the Chief Academic Officer for the Orange County Department of Education, and we are working with him to identify problems, present solutions, and also to assess outcomes. So these are the problems that have been identified by teachers in Orange County: low student engagement, isolation and anxiety, trauma, alienation, rage, political polarization, and disrespect. And peace literacy has ways to address all of these problems. And here are our solutions for addressing those. So our solutions, we've already begun planning to offer our internationally acclaimed peace literacy boot camps for Orange County educators in the first term of 2021. We'll then pilot an intensive peace literacy follow-up for a subset of educators in the spring using virtual reality to increase student engagement. In response to the identified needs, we'll focus on the following learning outcomes for educators and their students: understanding the anatomy of aggression, recognizing the elements of universal respect, cultivating calm, addressing trauma, purpose, and belonging. We are ready to go in Orange County. Your 50,000 helps us train 120 teachers and reach over 7,000 students across Orange County. With 50,000 more, we can also pilot a VR training module for teachers to use in virtual reality with their students. I want to end by saying that peace literacy is survival literacy. Peace literacy empowers us with the skills to protect the survival of our democratic system. Peace literacy also empowers us with the skills to protect the survival of our families, relationships, communities, and also our world. Thank you for your time, and I'm very grateful to be in the company of such important nonprofits.
Paul, that's a great presentation. I've been thrilled to present you in the past, and you always blow me away every time you talk. One thing that really changed my perspective, I mean, I love the idea that you're teaching peace with the same tools and intensity that people used to teach war, and that you're using tools that are used in war, like with ISIS, which a lot of people are recruited on the internet, and using those tools of VR and the internet to do the same for peace. I have not gotten a question for you yet, so I kind of want to enjoy this time to ask you a little bit about how you do that. I remember one of the things that blew my mind was when you talked about how people use aggressive actions to try to kind of de-escalate at the same time they're escalating, you know, where somebody will kind of get up in your face, and that's also a way of saying, hey, you know, you need to back off. Can you talk a little bit more about some of these things that you're teaching?
We talk about aggression as being like the heat emitted from a fire. Aggression is like the heat emitted from a fire, and the fires, metaphorical fires that can cause aggression, are fear, humiliation, disrespect. So fire is a metaphor for distress. People become aggressive because of distress, because of pain. People do not become aggressive because they feel good. So if we understand that what makes humans aggressive is some kind of distress, some kind of pain, fear, humiliation, disrespect. Think about how much disrespect causes aggression, all other kinds of forms of pain. If we can teach people how to confront those root causes, how to address the fires beneath the heat of the aggression, and also give people alternatives to aggression. So not only will people be able to confront the root causes of the aggression, the fire beneath it, the distress, but also giving people alternatives so that when we feel pain and distress, aggression does not have to be our only option.
And I'm so glad that you're bringing this to Orange County and that we get to be, you know, a pilot of this. Somebody said how cool that these two organizations, I think talking about news literacy and peace literacy, are doing things here in Orange County. And there's kind of a connection there in terms of what you guys are doing. But you also showed me one time, you know, violent video games that are, you know, full of scenes of everything from massacres to rape that are being shown on kids channels without any kind of background or what's the word I'm looking for, any kind of censorship
and age restriction
or age restrictions. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yes, we're currently working to leverage virtual reality and augmented reality to enhance how peace literacy can be taught and to make it more engaging and accessible to people from many different backgrounds. And Apple, Facebook, all these major tech companies are working to replace smartphones with virtual reality, augmented reality glasses, which are going to create many more problems than we're currently seeing with current social media and smartphones. So not only do we want to be able to leverage this technology to teach peace literacy and to make the world more peaceful and just and to increase human well-being and the well-being of our world, but also we want to use peace literacy to counterbalance the negative effects of virtual reality and augmented reality. And if humans are not peace literate, we're already seeing the effects now in our world, in our country, of people not being peace literate. And when you introduce virtual reality, augmented reality, more sophisticated artificial intelligence, it's going to be a really huge problem if people do not become peace literate.
Well, we're out of time, but Grace says it's great that you're doing with this teens. Last question, how are you going to measure your effectiveness?
Oh, we're currently doing formal assessment. We have already conducted formal assessment in Corvallis, Oregon, and we're currently working with Jeff Hittenberger from the Orange County Department of Education to have formal assessment for all of the programs we do in Orange County.
And that would be all over the county?
Yes.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Sue.
Well, we're at our last presentation for the day, and I'm really excited about this presenter, and I think you will be too when you hear her. I'd like to introduce you to a grassroots movement designed, and I mean literally designed, for suicide prevention, awareness, and education, because it's led by a survivor who's also a graphic designer. Ali Borowski from Find Your Anchor is innovating a tangible way to fight hopelessness, reminding individuals that they are not alone and that there are strangers in the world who care about them. So without further ado, this is Ali Borowski and Find Your Anchor.
On April 1st, 2016, I attempted suicide for the 4th time. 1 pill, 2 pills, 7, 8, 9. A few more shots of vodka and I will be just fine. This desperate chemical concoction that I created on my own, the biggest decision of my life, and I'm making it all alone. 6 more Klonopin before I pick up my phone. I woke up like this, sitting in a psych ward with my feet against the floor, flying so high out of reality, I swear I've been here before. Grounding and grounding, these feelings are sounding, alarms in my head, seeing nothing but red, feeling better off? Dead. In 2019 alone, we lost 48,000 people to suicide. With that, there were a staggering 1.4 million attempts. Everything that I encountered in the mental health world just felt so cold and sterile and corporate, and I couldn't find anything that really resonated with me. I figured I wasn't alone, so I thought, I'm a graphic designer, I'm gonna create it myself. My fundamental core belief in the height of my darkness was that nobody would care. I couldn't feel the love and support that I was surrounded by. I thought if I could create something that showed you that strangers care about you, then maybe it won't be so hard for you to believe that your friends and family do as well. So great, now what with this newly processed information? How can I now transform this into a freshly positive creation, a beautiful migration with flawless narration? And while the struggle's never easy and words don't always come out right, just opening your mouth can be a catalyst for the fight. You see, something has changed within me. Something is not the same. I'm not playing around with this. My life is not a game. I cannot be defined by a DSM description, and I refuse to be defined by a pharmacy prescription. This suicide addiction with unnecessary friction. I must grow from this, a catalyst of sorts. I think I found my anchor. I'm sailing towards my port. So Find Your Anchor is a grassroots movement aimed at suicide awareness and prevention. It all kind of manifests itself into this little blue box. It's not a program or a hotline. It's something real you can hold in your hands. And it all manifests itself. You open the lid, it says if you're feeling lost, hopeless, suicidal, this is for you. If not, leave it for someone else in need. Inside, there's a deck of cards, 52 plus reasons to live, an infographic on depression, posters, a letter, resources, a whole bunch of other good vibes. And the idea is that people can add to it, things that helped them or things that were an anchor for them. And an anchor just being something that someone can hold on to for another day or another minute. It doesn't have to be groundbreaking. It can be a smile from a stranger. It can be steak tacos. It can be a lazy Sunday. It can be Home Alone 2 Lost in New York. Like literally anything and everything. And this idea that anchors are everywhere, you just have to start looking. And in those moments of darkness, finding those little joys to string along and get you through. Financial issues are a huge part of the struggle. The last time I was hospitalized, when I got out, they handed me a bill for $14,000, which I have so lovingly called my life tax. There are too many barriers to mental health resources, and we vow to keep these boxes free for people who are struggling, and we need your help in supporting them. $50,000 will help us send over 3,400 boxes into Orange County, providing over 176,000 reasons to live. But more money equals more boxes equals more people reached. And $100,000 would help us send out nearly 7,000 boxes, providing over 351,000 reasons to live. But you may be asking yourself, well, how do we know these boxes help? And to that, I would say we have our data, we have statistics, but on average, about once a week, we get a message in that says, I just wanted to let you know that you saved a life today. We are literally growing by the day. This time last year, we had about 1,600 boxes in the world. And as of today, we are well over 10,000. Dreaming big, we want a box on every college campus, in every school, and in every public library throughout Orange County. And you can help us make that happen. And just one more final note. After being in the psych ward, there are several things I've learned. The walls are not at all padded, in case you were concerned. Sometimes you need a little chaos to find some clarity. And if you don't eat all your breakfast, they will unremorsefully watch you pee. When offered, let your OCD roommate hospital corner your bed. And when your psychiatrist asks what color you're seeing, definitely under no circumstance say red. FYI, the cake is dry, the bananas weren't ripe, and if any silverware goes missing, TV privileges are revoked for the night. So take your meds and take lots of notes. Keep your mind open and have the highest of hopes. Thank you.
That was amazing, Allie. I wish I had a little soundtrack to go behind you so we could groove with it a little bit.
I like that, yes.
The boxes that you put together, these amazing boxes, and I want to show them a little closer for the camera so that can you focus that in a little better? The boxes right now, how is it that you distribute these?
Right now, we send them to people who directly request them. We also launch them organically into the world. I mean, in a self-help section of the library, in coffee shops, literally anywhere and everywhere, and almost like having someone divine intervention find it.
And you have a lot of that, right? Because I think I heard you say that you get emails every week from people. What are the emails about? What do they say?
I mean, the majority of our box requests are coming from people who are personally struggling, saying, they just searched the internet for ways to not kill themselves, and this comes up, or just they wanted something tangible in a world of like digital things. To be able to hold something in your hand is so powerful to just kind of pull back out and revisit as you need.
You have an unsolicited fan out there who says, this is such a great movement. I've had the opportunity to see the contents of this box and think it is a thoughtful gift, note, resource for anyone in need. Another person says, excellent. Have you collaborated with Dee Hirsch, Survivor Support Services in Santa Ana?
Yeah, we've connected with several local mental health organizations, just trying to let people know that this resource exists and get more of them into the world.
I'm sure some people are wondering if you and Jeff's organization have connected since you've been in this pitch together.
We actually did speak, and they asked if I would share my story, and I would love to. So yeah.
That's
it's
great. I
happening.
see a great partnership there as well. Such a powerful but simple tool. And I think that's what's really interesting and, if dare I say, innovative about this is it's not just another website, not that there's anything wrong with that because people go online for their information,
Totally.
but to have something tangible that people can touch, that they pick up kind of randomly, gives it that power of being, more than like kismet, more
Yeah.
than just
Absolutely.
nothing. So
It's almost something that started out of my own personal journey of healing, quickly evolved into something much larger than myself. So it's pretty powerful to see, the impact that it has and just the opportunity for growth.
somebody's asked if you've connected with Be Well OC.
Be Well OC, yes. They actually reached out and got us maybe like 50 boxes.
Oh, they
Yeah,
got you
so-
started.
Yep.
Awesome. Somebody's asking the question if you know how many suicides there were in Orange County in 2019.
I don't have the number off the top of my head, but I mean, it's not great. And, COVID is really only exacerbating this. This past
Yes.
month is actually September's Suicide Prevention Month. And we've been completely inundated, as I'm sure you can imagine. So,
Yeah, because the thing you want when you're thinking suicidal thoughts is to be locked in a room alone for a long time, right?
Yeah, that just, yeah, really helps.
All right, well, the time is up. If there are any more questions, feel free to put them in the chat for any of our presenters today, and they will give you more information. And now it's my pleasure to turn it back over to our co-hosts, Todd and Carrie. Thank you so much, Todd, for letting me be part of this. I really appreciate it. And thank you all for listening.
Whew, all right. So we told you that this was going to be a special event, that you were going to feel inspired, and I really hope you feel that way. I know I'm a little choked up right now, just of all the passion and dedication that all these presenters have shown. And, none of them are professional pitchers, venture capital pitchers. They're just people with big hearts, with some big ideas to change lives. And appreciate all of you for tuning in to hear about them and considering providing support. And I also need to thank everyone at Orange County Community Foundation. There's a lot behind this project to make it work. Of course, our advisory committee, our friends here now at Kairos Digital that is hosting this live event, and UCI, which is our partner on the webinar.
All right. We hope you are inspired by each of these creative pitches, and we encourage you to support one or all at any level you wish. Last year, donations ranged from $1 to $5,000. And as a reminder, there is a, correction, $1 to $50,000. That is a big difference. And as a reminder, there is a match opportunity. So every dollar up to that amount will be doubled. So as you'll see on your screen, it is the Social Innovation Fund website, and it is now live. So please visit the website to learn more about each project and make a contribution directly via credit card, through your donor advised fund, or through a check. And you will receive an email with a link to this website, which will be live for 30 days. So don't wait too long, and additional information on who to contact and ways to contribute.
All right, so we left enough time for you guys to get a bite to eat and catch the Laker game tonight. Good luck to them. But as we're signing off here, we want to end with a couple of quotes we found from Bill Gates. And one, he says, if you show people the problems and you show people the solutions, they'll be moved to act. And that's what we did today, and we all are going to act. And we want to wrap it up with.
Absolutely. And the second to end the night is, I believe innovation is the most powerful force for change in the world.
Okay, everybody, let's change the world and do good. Thank you.
Have a great night.